So you think you know the Jeffrey Epstein story, right? Well, it turns out there's a huge hidden chapter that's just been uncovered, and it's all centered in one city, Las Vegas. Today, we're going to untangle this incredible web of power, money, and influence that let him operate there for years, right out in the open. Let's dive in.
And our story really kicks off with this number, 3.5 million. What is that? Well, that's how many pages of files the Department of Justice just released. And this massive data dump is the key that unlocked everything we're about to talk about.
Because buried deep, and I mean deep, inside those millions of pages was one city that kept popping up, Las Vegas. It's mentioned by name in nearly 4,000 documents, and together they paint a picture of a secret world, a whole network of power and access that protected a predator in plain sight for more than a decade.
So the first thread we're going to pull on in this web, it connects to one of the most famous entertainers on the planet. We have to start with the illusionist David Copperfield and his seriously unsettling ties to Jeffrey Epstein.
You know, a 2007 FBI memo put it about as bluntly as you can. It said there was, quote, a clear connection between Copperfield and Epstein. It even recommended that they investigate whether these two were referring potential victims to each other. I mean, this isn't some rumor. This is the FBI's own assessment in their own words.
And you know what? The paper trail absolutely backs it up. Epstein's own phone logs show 16 different messages from Magic David, that's David Copperfield, in just a few short months between 2004 and 2005 alone.
Now, most of those messages were pretty routine. Call me back, that kind of thing. But one of them just stood out. All it said was, "It's jackpot." That's it. No context, no explanation, just a totally chilling, mysterious message left hanging in the air.
And this connection gets even more disturbing when you hear the testimony from one of the accusers, Johanna Sjoberg. She testified that she was at a dinner in 2004, and Copperfield actually asked her if she knew that girls were getting paid to find other girls. Now, his lawyers tried to brush it off, saying he was just asking about a rumor. But come on, it puts him right there, aware of what was really going on.
And then you have a 2007 FBI raid on Copperfield's warehouse in Vegas. They went in, seized computers, cash, the whole 9 yards. But what they found, or rather what they didn't find, was a massive hole. A 13-year gap in his records, from 1993 all the way to 2005. And get this, that missing time just so happens to perfectly overlap with Epstein's worst abuses and Copperfield's huge long-running show at the MGM Grand.
But, you know, personal connections like that was just one part of Epstein's network. The next layer we need to look at is the corporate machine that was basically bankrolling his entire lifestyle. This piece of the web is all about money, and it all points to the billionaire Leon Black.
Just look at this number, $170 million. And that is the minimum amount we know that billionaire Leon Black paid Jeffrey Epstein in just 5 years. So the question is obvious. What in the world was he paying for?
Well, the official story was that it was for tax advice, but the documents, they paint a much, much darker picture. They describe Epstein as Black's stealthy do-it-all fixer, a guy who handled everything from his art collections to his personal messes. This wasn't just financial advice. This was high-level damage control.
And here is where Leon Black's money connects directly to Las Vegas. Back in 2013, Epstein took this big VIP trip to the city. A manager at Caesars sent an email with instructions for how to handle all his expenses. The instructions were simple, all on Leon's card. Black was directly funding Epstein's access to the very heart of the Vegas Strip.
And here's why that is such a big deal. Leon Black wasn't just some rich guy. His firm, Apollo, owned Caesars at the very same time Epstein was there on his dime. And their grip on Vegas has only tightened since then. They've bought up the Venetian, major gaming tech companies. I mean, the power structure we're talking about here is just enormous.
Okay, so now for the third, and maybe the most modern and kind of sinister piece of this whole puzzle. See, Epstein wasn't just using old-school power and money. He was actively building a network of tech operatives, and he was using Las Vegas's famous hacker conferences as his own personal recruitment fair.
I mean, it doesn't get much clearer than this, right? In an email from 2009, Epstein wrote that exact sentence. He looked at this annual gathering of the world's best cybersecurity minds in Las Vegas and didn't see a conference. He saw an opportunity.
And he wasn't just talking about it. He actually did it. He built a network. He found people who could allegedly scrub his name from Google, plant positive puff pieces about him in the media, and even, according to one FBI informant, act as his personal hacker. This was a coordinated, high-tech operation to control his public image, and its birthplace was right there in Las Vegas.
And you know what? These revelations had real, immediate consequences. As soon as the DOJ files made all of this public, the organizers of DEF CON, the conference at the very center of all this, they took action. They permanently banned all the key figures involved.
So, what happens when you weave all these different threads together? You start to see the real story. And it's not just about one predator. It's about a whole system. Finance, entertainment, technology, they all came together to protect him in a city where apparently the normal rules just didn't apply.
And that leaves us with some really critical unanswered questions. First of all, casino regulations are supposed to be the gold standard, right? They exist to stop exactly this kind of thing. So how did a registered sex offender get the full red carpet treatment on the dime of the casino's owner while Nevada's regulators saw nothing?
And then there's the federal level. The FBI literally documented a clear connection to Copperfield. They found suspicious gaps in his records, and then, poof, the investigation was closed. Copperfield's show went on for another 16 years. You have to wonder, what happened inside that investigation?
This one is just chilling because of how specific it is. An email shows Epstein making plans to go to the 2016 DEF CON conference with some very high-profile people, and he writes, 4 girls. Who were they? Was this a plan for trafficking at a massive public event? The files don't say.
In all of this, it all leads to the final, unavoidable question. We now have 3.5 million pages of evidence. The connections are there, in black and white. The patterns are undeniable. So why hasn't a single person from Epstein's vast Las Vegas network faced a single criminal charge? That is the question these files leave us with.